Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
You're never supposed to ask a woman how old she is. I am graced with 47 turns around this planet, this molten lava rock surfing life. My name is Rustie MacDonald. I am in the United States. I am very cold. It's about 29 degrees here in North Carolina. Melbourne, Australia, I understand, is a little bit warmer right now. One day I'll get there. I'm very excited. My story is complicated. A lot going on. I have, I'm an author and a speaker and an empowerment coach. I host a podcast. I have a huge love for dogs. They are definitely my best friend. I am, I talk and work through healing and trauma in a light and gentle way because I think we can gently talk about these things safely. And I find humor to be a huge part of my life. I grew up in the South, attended college in the North, got married in the North, and recently lost everything during Ian. And so we relocated to North Carolina, where it's a little bit safer. We do have tornadoes here, but not hurricanes that are the size of 3 hurricanes in a row. And so rebuilding life is part of the experience and sharing that with people because I don't want people to feel alone. I came from a very abusive background. Domestic violence is one of the many hats that I wear as a woman, which you and I relate to very well. And legalities and trying to overcome the legal system in a positive way and an impactful way. We have so much work to do, and I'm grateful to be able to share some of my story here today, in regards to abuse and poverty and now hurricane tragedy. I have a few books coming out that I've been working on over the years. I've had to take the last year off because Ian just destroyed everything. And so rebuilding that, I'm working on a new series on medium.com on empowerment. Who are you? What do you do? And how are you going to get from point A to point B? And overcoming those stereotypes, overcoming the things that we are constantly inundated with. I think for women in particular, we have a large obstacle just by our gender to overcome on an international level. We're extremely powerful creatures. We can create life. We can, protect our families. We're healers. We are storytellers, and we are community connectors. But there's a lot of struggle and triumph, which is what's interesting in its own babbling. And so having these conversations and working towards a overall community where we can share our strengths and share our hurdles and how to overcome them and become a community piece is just, that's my purpose. That's what I'm here for. I didn't go through, all of the struggle and that I went through to not have these conversations and really encourage and support other women to get through the next leap. I have a beautiful daughter who I'm extremely proud of. And so she was definitely the spur in my backside to get me moving and to help other women and young women to become aware that they have a purpose other than what advertisements and media and those expectations seem to be. It's not really our purpose. And she's really inspired me to keep going. So I've been interviewed 375 times internationally, radio, TV, podcasts. I've written 17 books. I actually wrote one in Australia, and that was really, really powerful. I don't know what else to say. It's just really fighting through poverty and what that means and how the judicial system is working for anyone. And it's not just here in America. It's not just not working. The way we're doing things and the way we perceive things and the way we assume isn't working. And we're far too powerful of a species, and we have far too much going on to continue the cycle, which we've done for thousands and thousands of years in different forms. And so we're in this catalytic, like this crazy place where socially we're doing this. And I just see a bright future. I think next year is going to be incredible for most of us because there's just a huge insurgence of awareness and gratitude and people finding who they are in this world, surfing this multidimensional.
So, Rustie, you have had a multi-dimensional career path.
Yes.
Can you share with us how your journey across the various fields like marketing, sales, and spiritual life coaching has shaped your professional outlook?
I think it was really interesting. I grew up in extreme poverty, and I was abandoned 5 times. I ended up in the foster care system, and the glory that I got to look forward to is being a pregnant teenager or being on drugs or getting a GED. Those are the only 3 things any teacher or social worker said that I could ever do or accomplish. I graduated high school. I graduated college. I have a degree in psychology as well as a minor in art. I wanted to be an art therapist because what a better way to have fun with trauma than painting and singing and dancing and exploring just the creative side of who you are, because in trauma, we don't get to explore a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
And so that was my original plan. And we all have plans, right? So the universe said, plot twist, you're going to do something else. And so I started out as a special ed teacher. I was making $4.74 an hour, freshly out of college. My school loans were $740 a month. My rent was $840 a month. And I had taken on a child who needed daycare, my now ex-husband's first daughter. And I couldn't afford to do what I attended college to do. So I ended up finding a sales job, which I had never done before, and went down this whole crazy journey because that's what life does, right? And I ended up working for a company in Brussels, and little orphan Annie here was traveling back and forth to Europe. As a sales manager at 25, I got my first car, which they told me I would never get because I would be, on the side of the street with a baby and drugs. And so on and on and on, I explored different opportunities, and I am very blessed, I think, to be open-minded. Okay, sure. Why not? What's the worst thing that's going to absolutely happen in this role? And so over the years, I was in technology sales. I traveled all over the country, part of Europe. I did things I never thought I would ever do because I was open. And I got into marketing for a dairy cooperative in New England for a long time. And that was so much fun. I was pushing cheddar cheese. I was a cheddar cheese pusher. So I would be in the stores and I would be at events giving samples and hanging out with kids and, just using that creative energy that I have so much of. So I've stayed in sales and marketing, and I still do a lot of events for companies, various companies across the country, in regards to the marketing aspect. I have a blast at events. Most people will tell you that how much they hate trade shows. They can be so much fun. They really can. So I then decided towards, I almost died after having my daughter. She was about 6 weeks old, and I had 72 hours to live. And there was a huge argument with my ex-husband, and he really showed me his true colors. And I had to make a choice whether or not I was going to stay in an abusive, toxic relationship raising this child, or if I was going to change the story. Growing up in an abusive household, I didn't want her to be that little girl. So I started writing my memoir, and it's called Having Tea with My Skeletons. It's on its 15th rendition because I'm not dead yet. I'll still be writing as a ghost. I don't know. But that spurred me into writing. I'm not a strong writer, but I do enjoy it, and I have my own voice, and I have my own personality that goes into it. So I keep at it, and I would like to think I've gotten better over the years. But no is not an answer for me. That if I'm passionate about something, it's just I'm going to do it, like it or not, like me or don't. And that's kind of what the attitude is after 35, I think. I really have been able to embrace who I am, my quirkiness, my flaws, my snoring, whatever. I just am who I am. And I live a very purpose-driven life. I live a very clear life that there's just certain things I don't need to be involved with. And I remove toxicity. And if I see it, I kind of turn and go a different way because I just don't need it in my life. So now that we're rebuilding again in North Carolina, it's been really interesting because just in this last month, I have all these speaking engagements coming up. My blog's starting again. I'm starting the podcast again, and just getting back into what makes me happy as an individual. I don't know if that answered all your questions.
It did indeed. So now, as a territory sales manager at Uplift, how do you ensure the empowerment of individuals in catering and hospitality and the light industrial positions through this revolutionary platform?
I actually left that company. So I'm doing something different. I'm actually working for an old manager, an old director. I have a much better position. I am working with people and having them understand their financial lives and how to be more proactive with balancing and maintaining their home lives and their 401ks, things along those lines, more so than what I was doing at Upshift. I was not valued there. On paper, it was a great job, but when it came down to doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, it wasn't a good fit. So.
Okay. So how do you incorporate your passion for self-help and healing in your new role right now in business development and client relationship management?
I think it's incredibly important to bring a sense of compassion and listening to the conversation. We are so inundated to people talking at us about things that don't value our time. I don't know how it is in Australia, but here in America, you can't even pump your gas without having hoagies and subs and drinks barking at you. So I think we have a really beautiful opportunity in any position that we have to come in with a sense of compassion and listening. It's something that we struggle with. We're just inundated with garbage. And I'm a true believer that garbage is intentional to keep us in fight or flight. So we're constantly consuming, because that's what happens when you're in fight or flight mode. And that's the whole trauma brain, you know. If we keep them distracted enough, they're not going to serve their purpose or have enough downtime to acknowledge their own value. And I see that changing. I see people becoming more aware in that space. So for me, it's just being present, just being authentically me, being present, and being open to what's going to happen next. I don't have a script. None of us have a script. We're literally floating on a molten lava rock without a GPS or a steering wheel. And every day we wake up. So make the most of it. I'm the queen of plot twists, and I used to get very aggravated when I was young. This is not the way it was supposed to be. This is not how it was supposed to happen. I planned it this way. Damn it, you know? And then I got into the grace of who I am, and it's like, oh, sure, why not? What's really going to happen? How is this really going to hurt me? I find that being in that presence and being aware that I don't have control over anything. It has made life really exciting. Like, I'm really having a good time. I like high five. Whoop, let's do this. Yeah.
I love it.
It's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
So let's talk about your roles as a spiritual life coach and an angelic healing practitioner. How did these roles complement everything you're doing? And how did you get into this? Where did that come from?
I started while I was married. I was secretly going to the battered women's shelter and teaching classes on cooking and how to self-care, which just is a natural part of who I am. But I had to do it in secret because he would get very angry that I was doing anything anywhere else. And that sparked curiosity. And then it sparked finding and meeting other women who had different gifts and different skill sets. And being the curious creature that I was, I ended up meeting some amazing shamans from around the world, monks, priests, rabbis, and really getting into what spirituality is, what it means to people, why it's so valued, and why there's such an interesting dynamic to how it's used as a weapon and how it's used to heal and cure people. So for me, that's always fascinated me, the anthropological, sociological aspect of religion. As an angel practitioner, I really believe that we have spirit guides, whatever you want to call them. You know, my part of me, I'm Native American, and so that's a different form of spirit guides, where a lot of Christians have St. Michael and St. Jude and St. Peter. And so, you know, however you want to navigate your spirit guides is how I support that. You know, I think religion, something to believe in, even if you're atheist, there's something that you believe in to get you up out of bed, whether that's your hope your fear, your desire for coffee. Something gets everybody out of bed, no matter how mean they are, no matter how sad they are, they get out of bed. What is it? And so going down that path, it really helped me become more flexible and moldable around having conversations with people of different faiths, because we don't do enough of that either.
Yeah. So let's talk about your career as an author. You've written 17 books. What are the key messages or lessons that you aim to convey through your books? Tell us a little bit about the books that you've written.
The last one was actually in Australia. I think I mentioned that earlier. It was The Healers, and I can't actually find the company that I went through. So I think they've closed. But there were 22 healers, people in the self-help industry, that wrote chapters in the book. And each of us had a different point of life that we highlighted in those. And that's been the main kind of thing that I've done, is written a chapter. Or small PDF books online. But the main thing I want people to do is just realize why they get out of bed. It sounds so simple, but when you're in trauma and you're in pain and you just want to curl up and cry. You just want to die, and yet we still get up. What is that spark? What is that little tiny itty bitty spark that's in everybody? Make them push for that one more second, that one more minute, that that rush of anger or rage or self-defeat or whatever the emotion is at that time. We all do it. We all get up. And so the main message is get up. Even if you're crawling on your shoulder blades, or my God, how many stories have you heard where people have both of their legs blown off and yet they're still crawling because they're going to survive it? So what? I don't have my legs. I'll deal with that later. I'm surviving this. And I think you can fully understand the curiosity, as I do. What makes us do that? Why? Shouldn't we just give up and say fine and just lie there and wallow in pity? Or do we get up and fight that one more second? And so for me, I was born just a scrappy little thing, and I've always been a fighter. I've gone through quite a lot, and there's just something inside me that's like, nope, one more time. You got one more second. Let's do this. And I think that internal strength is what makes me so fascinated about humans. I think they're just fascinating.
Oh man, the condition of being human. It is challenging to all of us, but it's good to know that you just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other to figure out this thing called life. It's interesting.
We put a lot of restrictions around what that means. We have this attitude that you have to be 22 and graduating college, and by the time you're 25 you get your first car, and by the time you're 28 you're married with 2.5 kids and have your own house and your career, and then you got to work on your 401k before you're 35. Don't forget your retirement of AAA, AARP, and whatever other thing that they want to push down your throat. And don't wear boyfriend jeans after 35 because you don't look good in them. You're too old. And if you have gray hair at 27, make sure you dye that hair. Get on that dye, girl. Oh God, you have belly fat. We need to fix that too. But I don't want to change you. I think you're loving, wonderful person unconditionally. But hey, God, your eyebrows, they're really thick, aren't they? We probably should do something about that. But I don't want to change you. That's what we get hit with all the time. It's constant, isn't it? What is it like to just be a boring human sitting down, having a cup of tea in your pajamas with your puppies and not worrying about any of that?
So based on your diverse experiences, what advice would you give to women who are in a bad situation, have no idea how to get out? Based on what life has taught you up until this point, what 3 nuggets of wisdom can you share?
Like an abusive situation, or just
Yes.
any kind of negative?
Situations in particular, because that's a hard place to be. And a lot of women just have no idea how to get out of that situation.
I know from my personal experience that when I was in that situation, I felt a lot of shame. I felt like I wasn't able to accomplish my goals because I failed this. I felt like it was all my fault, of course. And that, I'm never going to get better. I'm broken. And those things are really impactful. And again, it's back to all of that noise that we hear about how, we need to better ourselves, even though we're pretty cool the way we are. I think the largest nugget is to sit down and write to yourself a letter from yourself 10 years ahead. And it sounds like a strange exercise, especially when you're hurting, especially when you feel shame, especially when you feel guilt. All of those are normal feelings, but it helps you get out of your head. And that's where all the circling squirrels are, right? You're circling around all of this negative stuff and how you failed, when if you look 10 years from now, where do you want to be? Because the reason why we go through these things is to challenge who we really are, because we're not where we're supposed to be. And I firmly believe that sitting down and looking at yourself 10 years ahead and 10 years behind pulls you out of that circle. And even if it's only for a moment. And I think you should save it. And save it so that in 10 years or 5 years or 2 years or 6 months or 8 months, you look back and say, okay, this is where I want to be. This is where I think I want to be, because life's going to plot twist you all day long. You're going to twist like a pretzel. But at least you have this note to yourself. Right? But it's true. And I'll have to tell you about North Carolina and how we ended up here. It was just talk about a plot twist. But so that's the first big bit that I think is really, really big, is to get out of your own head. And that's one way to do it. There are many, many ways to do it, whatever makes you most comfortable. But I think writing to yourself from 10 years from now, it's really an interesting exercise in self-discipline, what you really want, what you really need. And in mine, I swore a lot. So just saying, I got a potty mouth. The second bit, I think, whether it's secretively, whether it's YouTube channels, whether it's shows like this, whether, it's books, whatever, Audible's great. Start learning about something that is different. I don't care if it's knitting. Just re-engage with yourself on something that's different than your current situation. And it's not separating yourself from your situation in the sense that there's no positive or progress that's going to happen. There's a lot of progress that's going to happen, because now you're initiating something in yourself that, hey, I might want to do this. Yeah. While you're feeling the guilt and the shame from the relationship, you're inspiring yourself to do something a little different. And whether it's knitting or resin work, or in my case, it was learning about all the religions in the world and really becoming involved with that. It was a wonderful, positive, healthy way to gain a new perspective. And perspective is 9/10 of the rule. So in doing that, and the letter from yourself 10 years ahead, you're switching the storyline, you're switching your behavior, you're switching yourself up a little bit. But by gaining a new hobby or learning about something new, or an ethology, let's just say you're going to go and hang out with birds. What's wrong with that? What are you going to gain from that? You're going to gain fresh air. You're going to gain some alone time that you really need. You're going to gain some nature, which is so huge. People underestimate the value of being a bird. Right? And you may or may not see a bird. Doesn't make you a failure. In this one, you don't fail, right? So you can't beat yourself up about it, but then it becomes something that you like and enjoy doing. And so a letter 10 years ahead, a new hobby, and with those two things, you have your third thing, a new environment. You're a new person. Yeah. And even though you have all the other stuff, there's other words I'd like to use, but it's a family show. You're going to evolve into the third, the new thing, the new person, the new idea, the new excitement, you know? And I think those three things are huge, huge.
That is absolutely awesome. So let's finish off with the last question, which actually leads into what you've just shared. If I could teleport you into the future to go and meet the 90-year-old you, and you're sitting in your rocking chair, surrounded by your children, your grandchildren, your dogs, your cats, if you could go and have a conversation with this wise woman who's led you to this point up until now, what would you say to her when you finally meet her?
I'm not going to say anything because I know I'm going to be the first one to say something at my 90-year-old self, and I'm going to have a whiskey in one hand, a cigar in the other, and I'm going to say, what took you so long? What took you so long? And I think that is just my epitaph. What took you so long? You're 47 now. I'm going to be 48 in a couple of weeks. And I don't realize that until I actually remember it's February coming up. These things I could have done so many times before, but I am a huge believer that the shoulda, coulda, wouldas only get you disappointment and tears. So I am here where I am, and I'm doing the best that I can with what I've got, and I'm doing better each and every event. Like every plot twist, I'm getting better at it because I know they're going to come, and I've accepted that that's part of living life. And it's sometimes ugly, and it's sometimes absolutely beautiful. Like right now, this is beautiful. I can't complain, right? We're having fun. We're on two sides of the world. When we were growing up, this was never a possibility. We would send a pen pal letter, and maybe 3 or 4 months later, you'd get something back, right? So this is cool.
I said, I do remember the pen pal days. That was crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I think I think there's a lot to still being a pen pal. I work really hard at trying to, you know, send out letters because it's so weird. But how cool is it to get one, right? It just brings me back to those fun days. But yeah, so if you can understand that not everything's going to work the way you plan because, well, we are floating on a gigantic molten lava rock through a universe that's spiraling out of control. And I don't have the GPS for that. Do you? No. I mean, I don't know anybody who's got the GPS for this one. So you might as well just enjoy what you have because life is incredibly valuable, incredibly vulnerable, incredibly beautiful, and sad, and messy, and deliberately challenging. And if we start recognizing those things and we turn off the social media and we turn off a lot of the noise and get good with who we are as individuals, I truly believe that we can get back to a very, or even, I don't even know if it's back, but we can get to a place where our lives have meaning and purpose and value and excitement. It's so wonderful when you do this kind of work. And I'm sure you know this. And you walk into a place and they recognize you, but they don't know why they recognize you, but they recognize you in a loving way and they give you a hug. You don't know who this person is. I get this all the time. And I'm like, I love you too. You know, and that's a very different relationship to have with other people. And it's a very different relationship to have with yourself. in this world of chaos, mayhem, and confusion. And when you get to that place, it sparkles, man. It sparkles.
I love it. Rustie, thank you so much for coming online and gracing us with your presence and your amazing story. Good luck with your writing. Good luck with the new place you're living in now. Make the most of it and stay positive. I can see that positive energy is something that is infused in you, and you're able to share it. A lot of women need to see that. Thank you so much.
I want them to feel it. I don't want them to see it. I want them to become it.
I love that. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. Come back again tomorrow to the Her Story Circle when I share yet another amazing guest from a different part of the world. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now.